Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the PD about the 21st century skills. I would like to thank you ahead of time for dedicating some time to attend this meeting after a long working day. I hope that you will find it useful. So, why are the skills important? If we talk from a financial perspective, the skills are more important than money because with the right skills, you can reach your own target and your goals. And lacking the skills actually is a defect. So you can lose instead of gaining. And the skills we would like to implement or teach in the classroom is through showing the students how they can be successful and how these skills are actually applicable to real life, to the workforce, and to their even personal life to reach their own targets. So one quote shows how teaching should change in order to make the students involved. The more the students involved, the more they learn. So it states, tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. And this quote shows how the students can get involved. And if we raise the question, how the students can get involved through active participation, either in discussions, either in making posters and presentations, in a group discussion. And this takes them to the next level where the students think on their own, work on their own, respect their colleagues. And this is actually a real preparation for real life experiences and the workforce. Now, if we raise a question, has there ever been a change towards education or towards teaching in the classroom? The answer is definitely. And how is that change, represented? The change happened from the what to the how. Instead of teaching only knowledge, theory to the students, it has been transferred into skills or even transformed into another level where the students will just apply the knowledge pre-taught in the classroom to real life experiences. So in sum, the change has been from the 3 R's to the 4 C's. And these are like models of, thinking about how education really changes through time. So the 3 R's are the basic knowledge that we need to read, write, and to know math. And this is transferred into the 4 C's, which is the critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. And under the umbrella of the 4 C's are actually, there are sub skills that the students will just take with them into real life. And they would include creativity and innovation, and then critical thinking and problem solving, communication, collaboration, effective use of technology, information management, career and life skills, and cultural awareness. And let me just give like very brief example on each one. Creativity means that the students will have the knowledge they studied, whether it's mathematical, geographical, scientific, or even linguistic, and they create something, either a poster, either a presentation, either a diagram, either a table, okay? And this is considered creativity because the student is not only remembering, they are taking it to a higher level. Then the critical thinking questions, they help the student think on their own and justify their own answers. So for example, if I give the students 2 models and I say, which one do you think is more appropriate? The student would choose and justify, or the students will just give their opinion. And the same thing, if I give the student a mathematical issue or equation and I ask them to have to apply the knowledge of multiplication, for example, or sum or subtraction, they are working towards problem solving. And maybe I also present them with situations, situation A, situation B, how would you react in this situation and in the other situation? And the student will give their opinion, justify, and when they justify, they might use figures, examples, whatsoever. Communication is not simply a verbal communication, though it could be also verbal communication when the students work in pairs, in groups. So they know, for example, task division, time management, active listening, but also it's how they communicate their own ideas in writing, or, for example, in presentation through writing letters, creating, for example, writing a letter, writing an email. Requesting something from customer service or leaving a note, for example, voice note or podcast. Um, this is also everything here will be reflected when they go to the workforce, because they have to work with their colleagues, listen to their opinions, justify, for example, agree, disagree. Collaboration in the sense that the students express ideas, share them, okay, and justify them. So they collaborate when they work together, when we assign them, for example, group work, and they say, X, you have to do this, Y, you have to do that. And then they come up with the last thing, the last product, which is a shared effort from each and everybody, where everybody is assigned a task, and then they come up together and they work on a final product. This helps them to work with a team in the future, and they to be team players and effective team members. Now, the effective use of technology, because they are going to, for example, send emails, to make presentations, to record maybe voice notes, to attend maybe meetings. So the more they are exposed to knowledge, to IT, the better, because we're living in a digital, age. Information management, it's the processing of the theory into practice. It's how, for example, I take that knowledge and I transfer it into a skill. Um, for example, I give you graphs and I say, which, for example, area witnessed the big change? Or, for example, which area do you think is the coldest? And the students will look at the temperature, they try to synthesize, they try to take information from there, and they transform it into a report, or opinion, or agreeing, disagreeing, or a statement. Career and life skills, this is very important when the students, for example, talk to each other, ask and answer questions, because it prepares them for interviews. When the students write cover letter, or for example, CVs, or they make SWOT analysis, or they read graphs, statistics, figures, and all that, it prepares them to listen to their colleagues and speaking different, for example, accents or different languages, and trying to understand and remain on the track, or, for example, take notes. And the cultural awareness is when the students respect each other regardless of their ethnic, background. So the students will respect the opinion. They will say, for example, I totally understand, but so this is this prepares them for the future work, which could be, one ethnicity, mixed ethnicities, and we never know. If we look at the critical thinking skills and we try to relate it to Bloom's taxonomy, creation and evaluation, as we can see, are like on the top. So the more the students try to work on things, or do them by themselves, or analyze information, or apply, this is actually prepares them for the job market. One example is just creating a presentation or a podcast, okay? Or, for example, giving feedback or analyzing figures. And this is not exclusively related to linguistic abilities. It's applicable to all knowledge, because nowadays knowledge is interdisciplinary. The classroom is interdisciplinary. So if we'd like to have a look at the specific concepts, for example, creativity. Creativity, simply, I teach the students things like math, geography, biology, facts, and then the students take this into another level. They might put that like in writing, in refuting an idea, in creating a poster, presentation, business plan. Critical thinking questions are usually the questions that will ask the student to think outside the box, or, for example, to give justification for their answers, to give an opinion. So these questions should be: why would you choose this? Do you agree or disagree with this statement? Why? How do you think we can reach this If you were this person, would you choose this and why? Would you prefer, for example, to live in this area or that area and why? And the more we ask the students at an earlier stage of teaching, the better they would be at justifying their answers, because in the future they will be working with colleagues and they have to justify their answers or give justification maybe for the conclusion they have reached. Now, communication. All forms of communication should be welcome. For example, the student write emails, write letters, leave voice notes, record a podcast, write a report about charts and figures. And one good way is, for example, LMS. The students can express their ideas. There's discussion. So, because in the future they are going to attend discussion groups, and this discussion could be online or could be in real, the students face to face. So they should know how to communicate in writing and in speaking. The career and life skills. This is very important, and it could be also taught at earlier stages. So, for example, if I teach students the alphabets, ABC, and the letters, I can have a call, like an interview over the phone, and I say, okay, so what's your surname? And they will say ALSA. Okay. And for example, where do you live? And I say, I give the address so I know how to read figures. They say, okay, 13, 19, for example, and the name of the street. And at higher levels, I can teach the student negotiation skills. For example, I think we should choose this because, and how can we, for example, reduce the prices by negotiating the cost, or for example, by interviews. The students can interview themselves by asking and answering questions. They become active learners. Also, when they take notes, and for example, when they write cover letters or prepare CVs, or for example, on higher levels, like what I did with 10 advanced last semester SWOT analysis for a project, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, examples, more specific examples that can be applicable to the classroom are presentations, debate, role play, interviews, discussions, work skills, including reading figures, email writing, report writing, persuasion, and negotiation skills. Then critical thinking skills and problem solving skills are actually applicable, I could say, to all stages and all subjects. If we now look at this sample taken from Purchase Success for 9 General, it shows you that even at an earlier stage, you can teach the students and prepare them for the future. So if I would like to teach the students a critical thinking skill, I can pre-teach them the target language, which is the equipment or appliances they need to have in the kitchen. And then I take this to another level. I make the students create a debate. So I divide the students into groups and I say, debate about which appliances or equipment are the most essential and why. And then they have to agree on 5 top appliances and they have to state why. So here I teach them working in groups, discussing ideas, reaching a conclusion, and justifying. And this is what they need for the future. If you have meetings, discussions, the sharing ideas. Another one is when the students discuss and they personalize their own experiences. And this is one of the best techniques, is that if I teach students about Africa, then I ask them about where they live, because I have to put that knowledge into a personal, thing that the student would appreciate more. So, for example, if I ask students to discuss together, like their ideal day, and for example, how their routine is would be different at the weekends and holidays, they know they are talking about themselves. So they know, for example, the words about weekends, they know about words routine, they know, for example, how to describe their day. But this is personalized, so the student would be able to talk more about themselves and to be more involved. Or, for example, if I would like the students to discuss something scientific or geographical or related to wildlife. So I say, for example, talk about wildlife that lives in your region, after I taught them, for example, the vocabs for wildlife. And then I say, I can either help them by creating set of questions or even the target's language that they should use. For example, I ask them to use I think, or I agree, or disagree. So this helps them into expressing opinion, research skills, because they're going to research about the wildlife in their country. And then also um, um, they talk about something related to their culture, related to them. So they personalize it. And this is in the future because they will be asked, for example, oh, what do you think? What's your input about this? So they know how to contribute to something. Then employability skills. Employability skills actually um, are crucial because the students would break the ice and would not be afraid to try to talk or to discuss things with their colleagues. So, for example, if I teach students sports, then I say, "Oh, interview X and Y, okay," and ask them a couple of questions. That would be a nice way where the students just know, for example, what the types of question they are going to ask. And one example here, interview your partner about the room. So because this is also goes to personalized experiences, and you can prepare set of questions. And some of the questions will be like what, when, or other ones like why, how often, if you were, okay, just to encourage them to have active listening and contribution, and then asking and answering and taking turns. Then justifying choices, because in the future you might be asked to do something and then write a conclusion and write why you think this is the best solution for this area. So one example is also looking at the jobs from the past, then discuss the questions with your partner. And these questions, some of them are, um, help them to imagine things or even to research, like the jobs about mending clothes, hanging out the washing, and then do you think life was harder in the past? If so, why? If not, why not? This make the student dig deeper into the topic, and they have to say why and justify their answers. Maybe they use figures, and maybe they use years, maybe they use facts. And this all prepares them to a future when they have to, for example, when they give presentations, they have to justify why they have selected this option and state facts. Another one is presentations. Presentations could be simply making a presentation or presented verbally. So I can help the students. For example, I say, I teach them about wildlife or deforestation. So I tell them why we should prevent deforestation. And then I create a table for them to brainstorm. So they will state the reasons and the supporting information, and then they take that brainstorming, they know how to deal with notes and take it into another level where they can present something on their own. Or, for example, here, I ask them to leave a voice notes, for example, to an activist, for example, animal right activist, and I say leave a message and this should be recorded. And then I give them the target language that they need to know, because in the future they might need to record a message to an absent colleague, or to record a message on Zoom and send it to everybody, or on LMS. Um, so this helps them into breaking the fear of like being precise and on target and on task, and communicating something either in writing or in speaking. Then there's this topic of synthesizing and reaching conclusions. I can give the students figures. I can give them here, like the diagram, and they ask the students, for example, to personalize it. So I teach them the word omnivore or herbivore or carnivore. Then I say, look at your diet and study it well and see which category you're eating more. And then I ask them a question: if you would like to make changes to your diet, how would you change that? Because this is in the future. If we have a problem and we need to solve it, there's a question of how would you solve it? If you were this person, what would you do? And you need to justify that. And one example here is think about the food you eat in small groups, to discuss the food you eat and decide which levels of the food chain it comes from. This could be modified, for example, if you teach the students calories, okay? and then tell them come up with a healthy dish, because they know the figures, like how each item, how much carbs, for example, they contain, or protein, or whatsoever. So they come up with a healthy one, and they justify it using the figures that you already stated in that diagram. Role play is one of the best parts. And even when you do CELTA, first of all, you teach the students the target language, then you go to controlled or semi-controlled practice, then the freer practice. And one of the best freer practices is the students do the role play. The role play, the students create a scenario for them and make them imagine that they are part of the play, and then they act it well, use either the language you specify, or the expressions, grammatical maybe expressions. So for example, here, play a role, a conversation with people in this lesson. So let's say, for example, they studied about 4 people, and they say, I would like to interview today Mahatma Gandhi, and then you ask him a couple of questions. Okay, this is a role play. Or for example, I am a customer and I am going to the customer service and I am going to discuss figures. This is also integrating math. Or for example, I am going to interview an activist. So I am playing a role of a presenter. And I use the words that I already taught them about nature, about, for example, animal, wildlife, for example, about pollution, etc. Another one, for example, a role play. If I teach them, the students, how to ask for a favor, and then I ask them to, I give them scenarios, and then I say, play a role of X and Y, and you are going to ask for a favor. And the students will use their knowledge, okay, to act like that. And for example, one of the role plays for early ages, like for kids, we can teach them, you are a policeman and you came across this thief or this person, and you would like to ask this person questions. We use, they ask them to use their imaginations. Or for example, you are a nurse and you are questioning, or sorry, not questioning, asking, for example, a patient a couple of questions, so that you can reach conclusions. So they will know how to dialogue with people, and what is, for example, the language suitable for that person, and how I ask politely. And yeah, so they practice the language they already taught. And this is exactly what's going to happen in the future, because they will be put in different situations and they have to act accordingly. Um, so I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, you're welcome. And for the next part, I'm going to show you one student in my class. She actually gave her feedback about using figures in the classroom. I'm going to share a video. I am from grade 9 at once, and this semester we have prepared so many facts, such as microquality infographics, and I and I learned a lot from them, such as reading that, and how to get feedback from my colleagues, how to read figures, and it prepares us for the future. Because in the future, we will have to work in groups, express opinions, and agree to disagree. I learned more about body language, which are eye contact, body movement, and voice clearance. And I learned in some skills, which are functional awareness, technological skills, and lifestyle, and food, and brainstorming and thinking outside the box. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for your time. Have a good day.